We got some breaking news. The Brandon Sorsby saga is not over. Welcome back to the 2-minute timeout, where you take time out of your day, and I'm super grateful. And the off season, I'm not posting as much. We're less than 100 days. We're less than like 80 days now away, so I'm gonna start posting weekly. Start talking about a couple of things. What I got 3 videos in my head right now that I can think of that I can post. Then we're gonna post weekly. I'm gonna tell you guys and do pick'em games about what I think, which games I would pick, some underrated games. Because I'm not gonna go all chalk and all talk about the big games. We'll talk about some underrated games that catch my eye. But Sorsby saga, it's not over, and I don't think it is gonna be over because we haven't heard a response from Brandon Sorsby after he got told there is no supplemental draft. The NFL does not have to allow supplemental draft. Roger Goodell gets to make that decision, the commissioner of the NFL, and he made his decision loud and clear. His apology was harsh but deserving to what he said to Sorsby. Basically, I'll summarize it as saying, you fucked up. You can't gamble. That's the worst thing you can do in sports rules, and you don't deserve a spot in the NFL right now. And, I brought it up in my first video about Sorsby, saying that he was using mental health, I feel like, to his benefit, so he was allowed to play. This is when the breaking news came that he was allowed to play because of the injunction that allowed him to play. Karma bit him back in the ass, Sorsby lawyer does say they're going to try to go to the NFL players, the NFLPA over the mental health, and saying that without football, he can't play, and without football, he can't stay sane, which makes no sense. If you have mental health problems, there's people, like I said in the first podcast, there's people that actually have mental health problems. And I'm glad that Sorsby went into these gambling addiction therapy and stuff, but it felt like he was kind of forced to once this whole thing came out, this whole situation came out. I really go into depth about the whole mental health thing in my first podcast about this. So please check that out if you are just lost. I'm just going to summarize really and go on a rant probably because, this mental health thing is actual an issue. And if you want to use it to your benefit, go right ahead. But you're not going to win. And that's what the NFL is saying. That's what Roger Goodell is saying. You can't gamble and get away. You can't break the worst rules and get away with it. That's not how life works. And because you're dealing with mental health, you shouldn't be playing football. You shouldn't be making big-time decisions, taking big-time hits that are critical to your health if you can't know what's left or right, what's right or wrong. The simple stuff. The worst of the worst role and loss in sports is to not gamble. If you do that illegally and underage and you bet on your own team that you're in, the games that you suited up and played in, took snaps in, you do not deserve to play at all. And Roger Goodell is basically telling you, you got to work your ass off if you want to see the field, because next quarterback draft is going to be one of the best quarterback drafts of all time. It's shaping up to be that. I'm going to tell you quarterbacks that I would rather take over Brandon Sorsby. Last quarterback draft, I would have taken Ty Simpson. People were saying, he was going to be the number 2 quarterback off the draft class, off the board if he would have went into the draft class. Mendoza's number 1. People were saying Sorsby was going to be number 2 and Ty Simpson was going to be number 3. I would have taken Ty Simpson because the competition that he plays, I'm definitely taking Mendoza over him. When Sorsby played at Indiana against actual defenses, not in this shitty Big 12 where he plays basically your cousin's JV defense over there at Kansas and fucking Colorado, when he played against good defenses like Michigan, because they were in the division of Michigan State, Ohio State, Penn State. They won 2-3 games. They won 1 or 2 conference games against Northwestern. You want to know why he lights it up? Because he played Kansas every week. He played UCF every week. When he played good teams like Utah on the road, BYU at home last season, he got his ass handed to. They lost by 3 or 4 touchdowns. He was giving up 2 or 3 interceptions against the best defenses in the worst defensive conference in college football. I would take Ty Simpson with his 2 interceptions every couple of games in an actual good conference, against a conference where he played against Georgia twice, where he played against Vanderbilt, where he played against Oklahoma. Actual playoff teams, playoff caliber teams, not teams that don't even make bowl games and get blown out by their own conference opponents by 50 because their offenses are loaded, but their defenses have switch cheese holes everywhere. That's my rant. Where does Sorsby go for this? I don't know. Can he go to play into another league? Everybody's like, what about the UFL? The UFL is a spring season there. The draft is in April when the UFL is still going on. You're risking injury. I would say his best bet would just go to, if he wanted to show tape, would go to the Canadian Football League. I don't know, are you allowed to move up there? Takes a little while to get a visa. Are they going to allow you after everything that's been going on? Maybe he just goes play in the fucking Arena League or something to get publicity there at the smaller football levels. I don't know. But I'm going to talk about the quarterbacks, the 6, 8, 10, 13 quarterbacks as of right now that I would take over Brandon Sorsby. Those are guys that are eligible for the draft next year. Guys that I think are better. Gunnar Stockton of Georgia. John Mateer of Oklahoma. Yes, you're going to be like, well, John Mateer, he could barely even score against Alabama. He was in the Heisman race before he got surgery and rushed his surgery back so he could help his team get into the college football playoff. They went on the road and beat Alabama in Bryant-Denny Stadium. That's not easy to do on their homecoming. And he went into Tennessee in a blackout night environment. Their season was on the line for 6 straight games. They went 6-0. Even with Mateer not being his best, coming off of a rushed injury. And before he got injured, he was a Heisman. He was one of the top 4 Heisman favorites. Lenore Sellers, he's got the athleticism. I am very high on South Carolina next year. I think they finish 8-4, 9-3, even with their schedule. I think they get some big upsets. And I think Shane Bieber keeps his job. Arch Manning, I'm high on the Arch Manning train. I was not high on the Arch Manning train. There was going to be too much pressure on him last year. I think they go, it's either 11-1 or 12-0. I can't remember what goes on there. But I'm high on the Arch Manning train. I believe he's a Heisman finalist. Julian Saint, he's got the best pieces around him. He's got Jeremiah Smith, the first 99 overall in EA college sports history, college football history. Trinidad Chambliss, I'm high. I would have picked Chambliss if he would have entered the draft. I would have picked him over Sorsby if they both would have entered the draft. I think he does have a good season, even though Ole Miss is about 500 next season. But I think he does show out. I think he should have went to the draft. I think he could have started or made more money and get drafted, guaranteed a draft spot in the top 2 rounds. But that's here nor there. And then, of course, Dante Moore. I think he's going to be a Heisman finalist. I think he's going to be a top 3 quarterback taken off the board. Here's 3 guys that I think are going to prove themselves in the college football season. Byron Brown of Auburn, Shane Maiava. I wasn't super high on him, but I saw some skills last season that I'm like, okay. I wasn't super high on USC last year because of his first year starting 2 years ago. Well, yeah, last year was his first starting year. The year before that, he came in halfway through the season, lit it up, but that was against not that good competition. They did end up beating Texas A&M in the bowl game, and when he took over for Miller Moss halfway through the season. And then Josh Hoover, I think he's better than Sorsby. They did play head-to-head, and Sorsby actually did end up, or was it TCU that ended up? No, I think Sorsby did end up beating Josh Hoover in Fort Worth earlier this year. I would say he's better, but I think he's also going to prove himself with the great coaching of Kirk Cignetti and the pieces that he's got around. And then here are some quarterbacks that are better if they do enter the draft. They have 1 or 2 years of eligibility left. That is Sam Leavitt of LSU. he's just being a redshirt sophomore or redshirt junior this year. I think he's going to enter the draft. I think he's better because I think LSU, I have them as a playoff team. I'm really high on them. CJ Carr out of Notre Dame, he's a redshirt sophomore. And then Darian Mensah, he's a junior this year. So Levitt and Mensah, I could see them going back for another year, their senior years, if they don't do good. But I'm high on both of their teams. But it's not guaranteed if they do enter. And then there's other guys that could come out of nowhere while Sorsby's on the couch, like Rocco Beck at Penn State, CJ Bailey at NC State, maybe Nico over there at UCLA. You never know. There's always 2 or 3 guys that really do show out and make their name known because of the pieces that they got around them, leading their team to success when they're not supposed to, and getting their college tape out there and getting tape out there against good competition, good defenses, when Sorsby's just on his couch trying to just stay in shape. That's my 11-minute rant. Thank you, guys. This was breaking news. This was something I needed to get out, and that was my rant. We haven't heard Sorsby's response. We do. It is heard that Sorsby's lawyer is going to go to the NFLPA, but the NFLPA really is not going to have any control over what the commissioner says. I don't think they really want to deal with that either. So I'll let you know. I'm feeling like I wouldn't be surprised if there's 2 more episodes about this, but there's probably going to be another episode recapping this all once there's a response with Sorsby. Wouldn't be surprised if there's 2 more because it seems like Sorsby maybe got a little baited in to, I wouldn't say baited in because there's pressure everywhere, but it seems like his lawyer was doing great at the beginning because he was able to play, but I think Sorsby's lawyer and some other people told him after it seemed like they were going to get sued in federal court to go to the supplemental draft because they thought it was guaranteed that Sorsby was going to get into the supplemental draft, and I think Sorsby's lawyer's kind of screwing him over. But he already screwed himself over because you can't gamble. That's all mine. Like, subscribe, turn on notifications because there's going to be another episode about this for sure, if not 2.